Randy Pitchford just learned the hard way that telling fans they're not real unless they shell out $80 for a video game isn't exactly a winning PR strategy. The Gearbox CEO behind Borderlands found himself issuing a 557-word apology after basically suggesting that if you can't afford his next game, maybe you're just not trying hard enough. Here's what went down. A fan tweets at Pitchford, worried that Borderlands 4 might cost $80. Pretty reasonable concern, right? Games are already $70 these days. But Pitchford's response? He basically said two things. First, pricing isn't his call. Fair enough. But then came the kicker. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. He even threw in this story about how back in 1991, he was making minimum wage at an ice cream shop, but still found a way to buy an $80 Sega Genesis game. The internet, as you might imagine, did not take this well. Think about it. We're in 2025. People are struggling with inflation, rents through the roof, groceries cost a fortune, and this millionaire CEO is telling fans they need to prove their loyalty by digging deeper into their pockets. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Gaming forums lit up, social media went nuclear, people started talking about boycotts and piracy. 4 months before Borderlands 4 is supposed to launch, and the promotional campaign just went completely off the rails. The thing is, Pitchford tried to fix it. He shared some old clip from PAX East where he talked about game pricing more thoughtfully. He even responded to someone who turned his quote into something the villain Handsome Jack would say, admitting, "Boy, howdy, is that how I sound?" But none of it was working. The damage was spreading faster than he could contain it. So on May 28, 2025, Pitchford drops this massive apology. And I mean massive, 557 words. It starts with, "I am sorry there was a misunderstanding." Already, people are side-eyeing this. A misunderstanding, really. He goes on to explain that he was just trying to reassure that one fan. See, the fan was worried the game would fail if it cost $80. Pitchford claims he was basically saying, "Don't worry, the real fans will support it regardless." He admits using real fans probably triggered people and that it got blown out of proportion. Here's the interesting part. He straight up calls it a super shitty look that made it seem like he was taking the audience for granted. At least he's acknowledging how bad it looked. But then he keeps insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that people just took it the wrong way. The gaming community, they're not buying it. One critic, Anthony Mirage, called it out perfectly. That's not an apology. That's a refusal of accountability. He pointed out that Pitchford was basically gaslighting players, acting like they misunderstood instead of admitting he said something tone-deaf. And here's where it gets really interesting. Pitchford claimed in his apology that $80 games are obviously where the industry is going. But is that actually true? Look at 2025. We've got Split Fiction, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Elder Scrolls 4 Remastered, all launching at $50 to $60. Quality games, fair prices. So this idea that everyone's racing to $80? Not exactly backed up by reality. The whole situation shows how disconnected some industry leaders have become. We've already seen games jump from $60 to $70 in just a few years. Now they're testing the waters for $80? At some point, you have to wonder where it ends. The Borderlands community is completely split on this. Some fans are done. They're saying they'll wait for sales or free giveaways on Epic Games. One Reddit user put it perfectly. "I guess I'll continue to embrace my status of not a real fan." Others are joking that true fans wait for the game to be free. What makes this whole thing worse is the timing. Borderlands 4 is supposed to drop in 4 months. This should be peak hype season. Instead, they're doing damage control because their CEO couldn't resist gatekeeping who counts as a real fan based on how much they're willing to pay. Look, game development is expensive. Pitchford mentioned that Borderlands 4 cost twice as much to make as Borderlands 3. That's real. but there's a way to have that conversation without insulting your audience's dedication or financial situation. The crazy part is this could have been avoided so easily. Imagine if Pitchford had just said, "Yeah, I hear you. Game prices are tough right now. We're trying to deliver something worth every penny." Done. Crisis avoided. Instead, we got a lesson in how not to handle PR in the gaming industry. So what do you think? Is $80 the new normal for games, or is this just companies testing how far they can push? And more importantly, does being unable or unwilling to pay that price really make someone less of a fan? Whether Pitchford's apology fixes anything remains to be seen, but one thing's clear. In an industry built on passionate communities, telling those communities they're not real enough is a dangerous game to play. And at $80 a pop, it might be one game too expensive for many to afford. For now, all eyes are on Borderlands 4's actual price announcement. Will Gearbox stick to 70? Push for 80? Either way, they've already lost some goodwill that no amount of apologies can fully restore. Sometimes in business, just like in gaming, you only get one shot to make the right call. And Pitchford, he definitely missed this one.